Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Monastery, the open bar of the internet, the world's greatest shit show, and the place where we, the good brothers and sisters of this most holy of temples, seek enlightenment through the drunkest, craziest, and most batshit ways possible. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me I have 1, 2, 3 good brothers. Ha 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 ha. We have our flamboyant flyer and living Wikipedia, good brother Flutter. We have the man guiding you through all of your manga dubs, good brother John. And the man of 1,000 runes, the CEO of Zidari Enterprises, and the bane of my fucking existence, good brother Xanatrix.
Zidari Enterprises would like to remind you that even though our CEO is sick, he can still manage to bane the monk on a regular basis.
And if it weren't for you baning me, it would probably be either K or in some cases John.
I have a few tricks up my sleeve.
They make good chaos disciples.
Just don't dress up like the disciple. No one wants that.
Okay. Oh God, no. God, no.
So, I do not relish the fact that this is very much a case of, I hate to say I told you so, but I kind of did. So, some of you may recall about a couple years ago, we did a Geek Watch episode talking about the rise of VTubing, and how we had said that there was going to be a down period that was going to happen just because of the sheer amount of people showing up. And to an extent, we were kind of right. Negrodamus strikes again. I think the only thing we got wrong was the potential for shit shows.
Which, let's be honest, and given how things are on the internet these days, we should have seen this coming.
And I checked. I have to correct myself. It was 3 years ago that we did it. That was Geek Watch 36, The Rise of VTubing and the Art of Authenticity, which I do remember some people getting butt mad at us because of the fact that I'd said that I think that certain folk who had jumped into it weren't jumping into it with the most authentic of reasons.
Yeah, I think there were some people who got on our case for that.
Which,
yeah,
sorry, not sorry. Especially since that's the same person who I took a shot at for trend jumping ended up having her own controversy when she tried to make her own cookies that were significantly overpriced, and she didn't handle it well.
Unsurprisingly.
Then again, every time I see her, she looks like she's about to cry. Crocodile tears.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I've never been a fan of hers. I've tried watching her stuff. I can't. I just can't.
Neither can I.
I can feel the fakeness coming off of her.
The most I ever watched her was when she was involved with other VTubers, or not VTubers, YouTubers who were doing the whole Among Us thing back in the day.
Yeah, pretty much.
She was involved with them.
Yeah. But obviously obviously the shit shows that have ended up happening, and when we had decided to do this, even more shit shows happened. to the point where I was like, can you guys be normal for 5 minutes, please? So I don't have to add to the list as it is.
Just when we thought we were out, they pull us back in. Ugh.
I swear.
Ready?
I swear to God, one of these days at a con, I'm going to have to pull out my own version of the list of Jericho. Just have. I could probably break out that Death Watch book that I have and rechristen it the Book of Grudges.
I mean, I don't see why not.
Yeah. It's like Corpo's fucking up. That's a grudging.
Yep.
Corpo's fucking up. That's a David Ensign. Why?
Now, I know what a lot of people are going to immediately think of when they talk about all the shit shows going on, because it's the biggest one going on right now. But we're not going to start with, we've already kind of talked a lot about Niji Sanji. And truth be told, they weren't even where all this shit started.
Though we are eventually going to have to address some of the additional stuff that has happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that elephant in the room just keeps getting bigger and more obvious.
But when we did the Sink the Yacht monastic therapy, one of the things that we had said was that this was going to cause a ripple effect that was going to affect other agencies. And just other talent period who may consider joining agencies, especially after the whole thing with Sayu dropped. And to an extent, we were kind of right, because I think there were like 3 or 4 agencies in the last month that announced their closure. And some projects that had just gotten off the ground shut down.
Now, in some cases, it wasn't because of anything specific. It was just they couldn't make the numbers. Like, I think V Reverie is probably a good example. I haven't heard too much shit about V Reverie, or there's a couple of others that it was just they couldn't live up to the numbers that they needed to make it, viable. Which is when kind of the norm,
Yeah. Which is also why there's technically only 2 people left in V Reverie because it hasn't fully shut down, but it might as well be.
Yeah.
I
It's
feel
in the,
really bad
So-
for Nova and for Salmon.
Yeah, Prison Project I think is another one that fits that bill. Like they just didn't have the numbers to keep it solvent. It wasn't that they did anything wrong or that they caused any controversies. It just wasn't financially viable. You know, when a lot of companies are trying to get in on the same pie, that pie is going to start shrinking in size.
Uh-huh.
At least Prison Project did the right thing and made sure that all of the talents got to keep their IPs.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is good.
So while you do see some of those logos on the splash screen I created, do not think that we're here to shit on all of them. A lot of them is a case of just unfortunate luck, just not being able to, just getting in too late on the game or just not being able to keep up with the massive success of other companies. But that doesn't mean we don't have a few on the hit list.
Yeah, I will also note that right now is a very bad time for startups because the venture capital money has dried up, which is why you're seeing so many not only the venture capital money but also ad money is nowhere near what it was during the COVID years, and a lot of companies who were making ridiculous bank during those years are having to face the bill.
Yeah.
You see this especially when it comes to journalism, and the big reason most people end up laughing in that regard is a lot of those same journalism companies are staffed with, well, a bunch of douches. Let's be honest. So nobody has any sympathy and look at it as karma. But there is one studio in particular that, as soon as this dropped, I immediately DM'd you, John. I'm like, we've got another shit show on our hands. Let's talk about VNU.
Oh yeah.
Although before we get into it, I know I did this last month, but I have to do it again. Let me make something perfectly clear to everybody. I am not a drama channel. This is not a drama channel. This is a discussion channel. Anyone assuming that I'm just farming drama, I will immediately bring up that you are most likely a hypocrite because, as I said before, news only becomes drama when it's magically convenient to be such. And I'm looking squarely, and as far as the people who are like, no drama in here, they end up creating it, like say r/vTubers when they banned Andrew in the name of protecting it from drama.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I'm not a fan of when people create their own problems, is what I'm saying.
And we don't blame you.
Yeah. We don't create drama. We just sit back and laugh at it.
Mm-hmm. That
Exactly.
is one of my commandments. Now that being said,
To Flutter, VNU is a South Korean-based VTuber agency.
Oh.
Virtual and Universe or VTuber and You.
Ah.
But I think John probably has the lowdown and skinny on the whole thing in much better detail
Believe
than
it or
my
not,
fried
yeah.
brain.
Actually, yeah, I don't know the full story of VNU. I know a bit about it, but there's been a lot going on with VNU. That one actually might be more Monk handling that one because I don't know it as strongly.
I only know what their
But-
wiki page says.
yeah. Also, Vanguardian saying, I have a lot of sympathy. Does that make me a hypocrite? It has nothing to do with sympathy. It has to do with the hypocrisy of when news magically becomes drama, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
News only seems to become drama when it's convenient to those who like to farm drama. That's what Monk's trying to say.
Or the
Yeah.
people who like to claim that other people are farming drama.
Yeah, they're just starting shit at that point.
Mm-hmm.
For the sake of starting shit.
But continue on, John. Sorry to cut you off there.
No, it's okay. Actually, like I said, I'm not as familiar with VNU. It's a relatively small agency that I had only even heard about once all this shit started. But the most I can tell you is that apparently a lot of their talents were jumping ship.
Well, according to the wiki page, they've only lost 3 talents.
Oh.
Yeah, they didn't have that many to begin with.
Oh, I mean,
Oh.
now they do. Symphoria still has 3 members out of the 5. Solstice still has Amoria. And then Oracle, Helloland, and just called Hellland at some points. And AAA Club still have all their members.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
But it has this has mostly to do with the fact that one of their VTubers who wanted to graduate was not only denied that, but the agency demanded a bunch of back payments.
Oh,
That would be Amano Seraphi.
To the tune of just shy of $500,000, and if it were for things like saying, oh, we just want the model back since you're not going to be using it, that'd be one thing, but some of the demands were ridiculous, including several $1,000s just listed as miscellaneous.
Because that's
If that ain't a red flag, I don't know what is.
That's
Right.
an itemized invoice, totally.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and I'm over here like, explain
Not
as
only
to what you mean by that.
Not only that, apparently she wasn't paid for months on end.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And yeah, she was billed for a shitload of won. And some of the bills going all the way back to the planning of her pre-debut. And the etc. Like they're billing her 22 million won for ad marketing, 1.1 million won for Twitter ad marketing, 2 million for YouTube influencer marketing, which, why do you need YouTube ad marketing and influencer marketing? Why are you paying that much money for marketing agencies?
Wondering
And
that myself.
3.9 million won for etc.
Yeah, and
Um,
looking at Amano Seraphi's page on the VTuber wiki and down at her retirement kerfuffle, allegedly, Alien Mixture, claiming to be the talent behind Amano Seraphi at the time, came out with a statement that said that the early termination compensation exceeds $450,000, and that in response to the termination notice on the 26th of March, her statement explained her numerous issues with management, such as having 2 managers with a low knowledge in English, lacking support from a manager in charge of 10 talents at the same time, being pressured to making content even when she was unable to stream, and being praised for some streams before blamed for promoting hate speech through those same streams.
what in the actual cinnamon toast fuck?
I'd say one of the big cases was the whole 180 about her stick of truth streams.
Because apparently sometimes they don't like the bad words that South Park says.
Which
Going to say.
one? Do you remember when I said during the whole last cup of coffee debacle that these things were well in the works, and only after the fact you have a problem? I'd imagine it's the same thing when it comes to getting approval for streaming a certain game. Like, these things probably have to be sent in for approval. Somebody probably has to look at the rating. I don't know what the equivalent of the ESRB would be in Korea. There's probably some equivalent, or it would be, or barring that, it would use the equivalent of Sero in Japan. Oh,
Yeah.
look at
The
these.
GRAC.
Okay. And you'd probably need to have approval for that. And if you're dealing with a game based on the characters and story and world of South Park, I was going to say story, but South Park doesn't have a story. Then
And
having
the story is to make fun of everybody.
yeah. And then all of a sudden, everything up until that point is kosher until it isn't. And with that's once again, I know some people are get really sick of me using the repeat the whole thing of Hanlon's razor. But as long as it keeps applying, I'm going to keep fucking using it.
And for
Agreed,
those of you
yeah.
who are unaware, Hanlon's razor is the statement that never attribute to malice what you can to stupidity.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And this is pants on head stupid.
Yeah. Like, if you don't even, like, even in Korea, like, South Park is a global thing. People all over the world know what South Park is. If you don't know what South Park is, something's up.
Or you're just
And if
old and
you-
don't watch TV.
Which
Yeah.
would probably answer a lot of the questions with these managers. But people who are running a VTuber agency should not be that old.
I
They
mean,
should be
I'm sorry.
at least millennials.
let's put it this way: when it comes to the corporate styles of China, Korea, and Japan, seniority is a big thing.
Oh, I
True.
get that. But for most VTuber agencies would most likely be run by younger people.
Yeah,
At least old enough to know what the fuck South Park is.
yeah. I mean, let's look at Yago real quick.
Yeah. You look at most of the CEOs of VTuber corpos, they don't look that old.
Yago looks timeless. He looks like a guy who's always going to be in his 30s for forever.
Yeah.
Right?
And he's probably the oldest looking of the lot, to be completely honest. And yet, even he would probably be young enough to know what the fuck South Park is.
Lucky Tanigo. He's 41. He's turning 41 this year.
Yeah, he's young. He's pretty
So
young.
he's almost my
comparatively.
age. He's only a few years older than me.
Nope.
It's December to be exact. Wait, no. He's turning 51. My mistake.
Old?
He's born in 73. He's going to be
Yeah.
turning 51.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So he's the oldest a lot, and even he would probably know what the fuck South Park is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I should hope.
As should I.
Let's look up Kevin Sakana Lee. You know, the the head of
His Face Connect.
Face Connect.
Kevin Lee.
Kevin Lee is not going to give you. You probably have to-
Age.
yeah. Kevin Lee, Phase Connect. Like they just call him Fishman or Sakana because that's his name.
And the image he goes by, if you've ever seen clips of him on.
God, he is young. Holy shit! I'm looking at his LinkedIn profile. Fucking,
He's young.
hold on here. Like this isn't going to be too good because it's just a tiny photo, but I'm going to post this in Sacricity chat.
Honestly, that actually doesn't surprise me that he's a young one, because oh Jesus Christ, yeah, he
looks
young.
like a child.
Right?
He does.
Like he looks like he's in his just turned 20 something.
that would be my thought. But that
Uh-huh.
also explains a lot because of how the mentality and the structure of Phase Connect. I mean, there's a lot of don't give a fuck attitude in Phase Connect, and I could see that.
Absolutely.
No, and I just love the fact that have you seen his Twitter race lately?
No.
Founder of @Face Connect, a top Canadian coffee company.
Oh,
Cover.
the whole April Fool's thing that fucked over a lot of people's Twitter accounts.
Wow.
He still has it up because it's funny.
That,
I
and
mean-
I probably can't change too much because, well, like I said, a lot of people can't change their freaking Twitter profiles thanks to Twitter.
This makes the smartest April Fool's joke we saw this year. The whole thing with Enera that I shared before we went live.
Yep.
But, yeah.
He also has been answering questions over the last few days about merch purchases, such as when you buy the Pippa birthday socks, they come as a pair, so you don't have to buy two.
Yeah, that explains why he has a company that hires people like Pipkin, Pippa, and Tenma.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Anyway.
no!
But
Oh
What?
no!
What?
Okay,
What,
so
Zan?
this is all a side, for for the for goddamn it, brain. For April Fools, where is she? Himemiya Rie changed her Twitter to the Hatsune Miku picture and said Hatsune Miku at Phase Connect.
Yeah, I heard about this. Oh yeah,
And
she got
and
fucked
she's been suspended because of it.
because it's
Understandably
it-
so.
I could see. Yeah, unfortunately, I see why this happened because fraud account. Even though it was meant to be an April Fool's joke for one day, it got flagged as a fraud account. Yeah, she got kind of fucked on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Anyway.
Rails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But
the bigger thing to come out, and I should know. And I should note what. Sorry, I got thrown off by what Van Guardian said. It's like, what the fuck are you on?
Huh.
Anyway, I should note the whole fish thing doesn't surprise me, knowing how many mangaka will choose to present themselves as different animals,
Perfect example, Hiromi Arakawa.
as a cow.
Yes.
yep.
It's implied it's because she grew up on a dairy farm, but some are even less sensical than that.
Mhm.
Like the guy behind Gintama portraying himself as a monkey. No one knows why, and he refuses to explain.
That's about right for Gintama.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say that tracks. That tracks. But no, if we're gonna talk about VTuber agencies that are getting that have fucked themselves, we need to address the canary in the coal mine. Before any of the other agencies fucked themselves, started causing problems. There was one agency that was already making a name for itself
In the worst
for
way
just being an
possible.
absolute fucking shit show.
And while it's not dead per se, it is in a coma.
It is beyond just life support at this point.
I mean, are we talking about who I think we're talking about?
Yep.
I'm pretty sure we are, folks. Let's talk about Wachter.
Or as I like to call them, Whackter, because they're whack as fuck.
Yeah. Now this one, unlike V and U, I have at least a good modicum of knowledge about what's been going on with Wachter.
Mm-hmm.
Because, good God, when this shit started, you could not escape it. It was everywhere. You know, not only were they firing VTubers left and right, which terminating contracts is not a common practice, as we've noted. You know, that's the last resort. For Wachter, it seemed to be the norm.
Ugh. And this
But
is coming
it
from a...
wasn't-
Go ahead.
You know, but it wasn't just terminating them that was the problem. Like, okay, fine. You know, shit goes wrong. You got to fire some people. Fine. No, it's the way they went about announcing their firings that caused a lot of heads to turn. Because they were doxing their talents when they were firing, and I mean hard doxing them.
Which I'm surprised they have yet to be charged with significant jail time over that shit. Because lest we forget, doxing is illegal
in the U.S.
In
Fair.
the U.S., this is not a U.S.
I don't
company.
know. I don't. Well, in the U.S., doxing is illegal. In Japan, it's super illegal.
So
Japan's privacy laws are extremely stringent, to the point that paparazzi can't exist because taking pictures of celebrities on the street without their permission lands you prison time, not jail time. You're not in for a few months. You're in for years.
yeah,
And the Japanese courts are they have some of the largest infamy for the highest conviction rates in the world. If you're Japanese, your conviction rate is like 92%. If you're not Japanese, it jumps up to like 100%. If you ever get in trouble and you don't have every fucking receipt to show that it wasn't you, you're probably getting fucked.
Mind you, Japan's legal system is guilty unless proven innocent.
Is it? I don't know about that.
No, but you do have a lot of prosecutorial lawyers who are very gung ho.
Yes,
Fair enough.
And the Japanese system is very the Japanese legal system is extremely punitive because they believe that, once again, going back to some very old proverbs that the Japanese use a lot, the nail that sticks up gets hammered down. Being someone who is outside the norm of society is seen as a burden, at least on a social level.
Mm-hmm.
It's why otaku who go to Akihabara, while more accepted than they have been in the past, are still considered on the fringes of society.
Yeah.
And the fact that... Go ahead.
I was going to say, so the fact that they've not only were breaking contracts, which you can do if you pay the contract breach fee, that's no big issue. But at the same time, revealing the real names, addresses, I believe it's called the Japanese identity number. They have their own version of our social security numbers. They have their own citizen numbers. They took a lot of systems from the U.S. because we occupied them for so long.
Yeah.
But if they're revealing all of that information, which they were, that right there is a massive breach of privacy. The problem is the talents have to bring up the case. They have to legitimately file the case themselves against the company. I'm sure some probably are preparing to do so, but they need to make sure they have all of their evidence ready to go.
Which this absolutely baffles me that an agency like this does this, considering what their namesake means in German. But anyway,
Elaborate?
Yeah.
It can translate to watchman, guardian, defender, or protector. Like the actual
Vakta.
name, Vakter.
Yeah.
Which
at
is
this point,
amusing because they thought that their big ticket to get noticed was trying to appeal to the Spanish market.
that was interesting.
Yeah, fair. Trying to tap into an untapped market, not a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all.
But concept versus execution.
Exactly.
No. At this point, Wachter, when we said it's on life support, they have one active lifer at this point.
Good.
Everyone else has left.
You want to know how bad it is? They had talents leaving before they even debuted.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus fucking Christ!
Yeah. They had a whole generation of talent getting ready to debut, and all the talents involved quit before they even debuted.
Wow!
Yep.
There's also the fact that I believe I believe in the tail end before the shit hits the fan, they were trying to pressure some of their talents into doing more adult material.
Which, why would you?
When you're at that level of desperation and you have the demand to pump those numbers up, to reference the Wolf of Wall Street, um,
Fair enough.
common sense can kind of go out the window.
Fair point.
And as we discussed last time on the Sinking the Yacht Monastic Therapy, according to a joint statement between Nemurime Charo, Tenjo Yuiga, Himeragi Ageha, and Kobi Ururu, they condemned Wachter for misconduct such as performing non-contractual activities under threat of termination or legal action, an environment of fear and high pressure, abuse of power and sexual harassment, compulsion to express false opinions, and instructions prohibiting the use of legally prescribed psychiatric medication. Which I will tell you right now, in Japan, that's a pretty big crime.
Uh-huh.
Preventing someone from using their prescribed medication in the way that it is prescribed for use is an indirect way of doing them actual harm.
Yeah.
So.
It's also just a classic case of reckless endangerment.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So that goes to show you why, like, I would say in terms of severity, Wachter is the absolute worst of the worst. Like, Niji Sanji may be the worst in terms of how exposed they are because of how big of a company they are, but in terms of the actual severity of their crimes, Wachter wins by a fucking landslide.
It's just ninth level of hell shit.
And I know some might say, what, given that I said that the incident with Niji Sanji was going to cause a ripple effect. I know some might ask, why didn't I think the same ripple effect was going to happen with Wachter? It largely comes down to scale. Like, Wachter was even though they were not a tiny company, they were still small in the bigger picture of things. Oh.
Even someone like myself, who's pretty deep in the VTuber rabbit hole, hadn't heard of Wachter until this shit started.
Mm-hmm. Like, I had heard a little bit of it, but it was only due to them trying to break into the Spanish-speaking market. And even then, I wasn't quite sure what the full scope of it was. Then I end up looking a bit deeper, and, well, you know the rest of the story.
Yeah.
Yep. But let's address the one last little icon you got on there for Akio Air. Because Akio Air sounds a lot more like incompetence than villainy, like Wachter. Wachter feels like villainy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I can't Hanlon's razor the whole, no, you can't take your psych meds. That's not incompetence at that point. That's malice.
You did that in the States.
That'd be malice.
You try and do that in the States, you're going to get sued to oblivion and probably be on the front page of several papers.
Yep.
Exactly.
But Akio Air strikes me much more as the incompetent side of this equation. They shut down very recently, end of March. They were Taiwan-based, and there were a lot of things that happened throughout 2022 and 2023 that gave people pause, especially in 2023 when they had to delay the release of the 6 members of their new season called In Serenity. 2 of them got to debut immediately as Akio Water, and the rest got to delay later. And it was just said, oh, it's because the circumstances and health issues stopped them from debuting. But then That was September 29th. And on October 2nd, none of the Akio Air social media updated from that point. And the rest of the talent kind of never really got closure except for one of them.
Okay.
And then on 22 February this year, talents Kion Dojima and Nonoa, who are members of Refract, had renamed themselves to Kion with a Y after the I and Nor, announced that they had taken back possession of their channel media and content, and with still no update from the agency itself, and two of their other former members taking possession of their identities as independent, it was assumed Akio Air dissolved, and then 24th March, Akio Air officially announced that they were dissolving. Now, that's just incompetence at that point.
Yeah.
But that is the end of their incompetence. Let's go to the beginning of their incompetence, when they announced in September 5th, 2023, that one of their talents, the talent behind Nophelia from Akio Water, was a minor, and that people should not draw NSFW of the character because the actress is a minor. And everybody got on their case because the applications specifically said 18 or over. And they said that they had been convinced by both the actor and her parents to let her go in because she was going to be of legal age within a year. Mm-hmm. And that she'd be doing everything above board. They had the signatures of the parents, the signatures of the talent. But then after that, just before Akio Water was supposed to debut, Refract member Athena Nightingale said that she was not going to be working with Akio Air and became independent, citing professional mismanagement and emotional abuse, including threats to sue from the CEO.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm. And then
go ahead.
Akio Air retaliates with their own statement saying she's been terminated and listing alleged breaches of contract.
Huh?
And then the hashtag Akio Unfair started because of this, and many other Twitter users popped up claiming to be former talents or people associated with Akio Air. One claimed to be Vix E. Gray, who was supposed to be one of the 4 debuting In Serenity members, but she withdrew. There was a management, I would say backstage management type person who said that they were involved in Vispire, which is Akio Air's trainee branch. The 2 talents behind Akio Water, Azure Delphi and Nophelia, both posted that they were going to be retracting from Akio Air. A different talent behind Kion Dojima, not the one that was announced in 2024, but the one that was supposed to be Kion Dojima prior to the debut of season 1, talked about how bad Akio Air was. And then the manager and talent behind Mu Horizon, which is one of the members of Refract, also released a statement. And then after they all released these statements regarding their issues with Akio Air, all remaining members of Refract just left.
Damn.
And Mu Horizon's Twitter banner shows all of the posts they put out together. Additionally, because the rest of In Serenity never got to debut, we have no idea what happened to Teira Fenthera, Chiori Kogara, or Hoshikuzu Orion. But after that, the only real people left were at that time probably just management, because Akio Water from season 2 left. The rest of season 2 never got to debut. Vixie Gray from In Serenity left. And then all of Refract, their season 1 members, left. Everybody was gone. The only people left would be management. And the only thing that the former talents did in that time was to go, hey, Akio Air is not pursuing us or anything, so we're going to take our fucking names and our iconography and our channels and use them as independents.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so Akio Air is a case of lots of incompetence piling on top of each other.
Yeah.
If I had to take a look at some of these posts, like important announcement, my time under Akio Air tweet. My experience with Vispire, Akio Air's trainee branch. Experience with Akio Air as a minor. That's that would obviously be Nophilia.
Uh-huh.
My experience with Akio Air. In regards to my time to Akio Air,
Yeah, threatening a lawsuit, that's as serious as you can get. That's what I was going to say.
I would also like to point out that half of these statements are gone.
Oh, they've been deleted.
Yes. The statement from Booninade, who was probably Vix Egray, is still there. Yeah, she was supposed to be Vix Egray. The statement from Kumakomoto, who was the Vispire person.
Yeah.
Her statement is there. The statement from Nophilia is gone. I can't see the statement for Azure Delphi because she has her account on protected. The statement from an unspecified Akio Air talent is also unprotected. And so many people brought Nosagi into these posts, by the way. I see the pings of him.
So I guess we can add that to one more reason why Nosagi drinks so much.
Probably. And then we have Esther.exe. I just want to send my full support to all the Akio Air girls. For those of you who may not know, I was originally part of their S1 talent roster. I was Kion Dojima, but she used to go by Mirai. Yes, Dojima is from Yakuza, and even came up with her design idea. So Esther.exe came up with Kion Dojima's name and design. And then the statement from Esther.exe is probably a pretty good one. She even clarifies that she's not the current Kion. She was just she never ended up debuting under Akio Air, and the current Kion was the replacement after she left. But there's some details here. It breaks my heart seeing the amount of abuse that season 1 and season 2 girls went through. I had no idea it would have gotten as bad as it did. Knowing how Jason would try to insert himself into our voice calls and asked us to play games was weird and uncomfortable, delaying everything. I'm guessing Jason is a manager or maybe a CEO.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
But we don't know Akio Air's C-suite. So, also did a legal scare when I tried to leave and even guilt-tripped me that I made the investors mad. They spent so much resources to find a replacement, they could have made me pay for damages, even though I was literally couch surfing and had no stable setup.
That is cult behavior.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up doing free vocal editing for their debut songs to make up for it, but I couldn't sleep. I had mental breakdowns. I no longer found streaming VTubing fun anymore. The environment was just too unstable and toxic. I'm angry that Jason didn't care about the S1 talents while I was there, even though we worked our asses off for everything for debut, and I'm unsurprised nothing has changed. I'm proud of the girls regardless. I know how talented they are. Please give them all the support you can. So there's a lot of incompetency. It looks like there's some malice from the CEO, though. I'm guessing that Jason is the CEO.
That's what it
But
sounds
then-
like.
It sounds like it.
But then the statements from New Horizon are all gone too. The page doesn't exist,
Jeez.
and I don't know if
Jesus.
that's because of the account or what. No, the account is there. She probably just deleted it so she doesn't have to focus on it anymore. Because she's looking
Can't say
to
I blame
debut pretty soon as an indie.
Yeah, that's very fair.
So we've had some measure of incompetence and outright evil. Some being black companies in all but name. Though, if I recall correctly, wasn't one of the other ones that went belly up Prism Project, which was, I think that was associated with Sony.
Yes, Prism Project had to go, but none of the talents for Prism Project ever really said there was anything bad about working with Prism Project. It was some of the best time. As you all know, I am a deep fan of Shiki Miyoshino.
Mm-hmm.
She's one of my many Oshi.
Same here.
Her stream for the last day as Prism Project was really emotional because she thought she had failed her fan base, and it's like,
Oh God.
it was something that, like, the entire chat just started going machine gun at that point. Like, no, you did nothing wrong. Why?
Yeah, and unlike other companies, this was a case of the company did right, because if I remember correctly, Prism Project is allowing the talents to keep their models, their channels, and everything even after the company dissolves.
Yes, they transferred the IPs to the talents themselves.
So even at the end, they were doing good by their talents. It wasn't perfect, and obviously they couldn't be successful with it, but at least they're not fucking them over on the way out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but all of this serves as a reminder that, well, the biggest name, the biggest black company, isn't sinking, even though they sure are trying to.
Yeah, I think it's time we address the elephant in the room.
When you said earlier that the elephant was getting bigger, John, my response was going to be, no, I think the elephant started breeding.
Pink elephants on parade.
Oh god, yeah.
Jesus.
Let's talk about Kuro Sanji, shall we?
Yep. Before we get into the details, I want to make one little check on things, since, you know, this kind of thing is technically in my wheelhouse.
You're going to check the stocks again?
Yes. Because let's not
been
forget,
quite a while.
it wasn't too long ago that the stock was so bad, it was at a level that it legally couldn't go any lower.
Don't you love it?
And
Right.
so, any color is slightly up at it is at 2,484 yen, and I am unfortunately the chart is being slow to load. Let me try a different site. Let me try Market Watch. Yep, 2484. So it is technically up only by 0.4%. But even if you look at like how it's been over the last month, back on March 11th it was at 3.3 thousand yen.
Yeah. Just for those who aren't aware, that's like $16 per stock what they're at right now.
Jesus, that cheap.
Yeah. With a single paycheck, I could buy a proper amount of shares in freaking any color right now.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you'd want to. That's a bad investment.
Yeah, in fact.
Oh, absolutely. I didn't say I would. I said I could.
If I could buy a controlling interest in any color, I would, and then I'd fire the CEO and management.
Yeah.
I'll make back on my investment because I'll change your entire fucking company.
Yeah. But the odds of that happening are slim.
Would you say that you would
Sodari
beat?
Enterprises doesn't need it.
Would you say that you would beat 7 shades of shit out of him?
Love it. Love it.
Eith-
And unfortunately, with recent events, I don't see that stock getting much higher anytime soon if it doesn't drop further.
Even with the stock
Neither do
that
I.
low, it takes a lot for anyone to justify being bullish on it. Most of the reports I get is that they is bearish, which
Yeah.
for those who don't know, that bullish and bearish is kind of a general assessment on whether or not it's better to buy this stock at its current level or not buy. Bearish is usually viewed as a kind of wait and see how things go kind of thing.
Yeah.
But most people aren't
Whereas
even
bullish
wait
is
and
charge
see,
on in because it's
because when people are bullish on a stock, they feel like it's gonna go up and they'd be able to sell it at a profit.
Yep.
But most people are bearish, and it's not even a wait and see kind of bearish. It's a this is toxic kind of bearish.
yeah. They're like, this ain't gonna get any better. We might as well just wait it out and wait for the company to. If people are buying anything, or if people are doing anything, it's like what happened with the whole GameSpot thing. They're betting against any color.
Oh
right
yeah,
now.
GameStop. Yeah.
And nobody's short selling.
Yeah, and you can't take advantage of the short sell to make a short crunch.
Yeah, but like that would be the only reason you would even consider it as a short sell because you know it ain't gonna get any better at this point, especially when more controversies keep fucking happening.
Yep. Because here's the thing. When I had proposed doing this episode, I originally had no intention of giving Niji Sanji the time of day because I figured the worst has come and gone. There's not going anything further than that would be fishing. Boy, was I wrong.
And then Malcolm in the Middle happened. I expect nothing, and I'm still disappointed.
Now, did we bring up Uki last time?
No, we
Yes.
didn't.
No, we
because
didn't.
Nope.
because that happened afterwards.
Oh yeah.
So let's start with
Oh
Uki.
boy,
Yeah, let's get the appetizer out of the way.
this fucking monkey.
Oh my god. You know, here's the thing. We often don't talk about racism too often on this channel because, quite frankly, more often than not, we're fishing. It'd be fishing. It's cloud chasing. But when it's presented to us on a silver fucking platter like this,
Although
Right?
I do have to clarify, we will happily take the piss out of any race grifter or anybody playing the race card.
This is why I
Yeah,
constantly
agreed.
make because you're black jokes.
Yeah. Most people would be offended by all those black jokes that I make. I am not in that particular camp.
Yeah, he's not Al Sharpton.
No. I'm too skinny to be Al Sharpton, to be honest. Also, I have my
also
hair.
true. That's also true, except when you shave your head.
No, I still have more hair than him. I could be
Okay.
Zan. I could be bald and still have more hair than him.
Oh, that's sad.
rails, guys, rails. Let's talk about Uki Violetta from Noctix, because what it started out as what people thought was a joke turned out to be a damning statement, especially because Uki literally fed right into the troll. When during the whole Selentatsky thing, a lot of the talents were trying to be supportive and trying to actually talk about the artists and stuff like that, trying to support the fan art. Someone responded to Uki's statement, baiting him, and he took the bait instantly. As Uki has now been confirmed to have had a history of making insulting comments about white men.
Yes.
White people in general.
White people in general. Yeah. So when we're talking about race, we're talking about him being legitimately racist here.
Yeah.
And if I'm
actually
being honest, you know that in any other situation he would not be, if he was face to face with any of the people he keeps talking shit about, he would curl into a fucking ball.
Yes.
I mean,
Not just curl into the fucking fetal position.
But the big thing is that I remember when this first started coming up, I went to look at his past life because I found that big long list of past lives.
Yep.
He talks about in his in some of his streams about how the white people don't have it so hard. When I lived in at XYZ, I had to constantly look over my shoulder and make sure that I wasn't gonna. And I was like, and then I go and look at his past life. I'm like, motherfucker, if we go by the language of intersectionality, you are a white passing Asian man. There's no fucking way you had to do that.
Also,
you're a lying sack of shit.
John, I need the Jeopardy button.
Which one are we talking about?
Bullshit.
And yeah.
All right, let me make sure that one's working here. It's been a while since I've used that button. Okay, yeah.
I'll take bull for 200.
Oh, wait. Daily double.
Yeah, that going all in on that daily double is going to be a safe bet. But it's about as safe as a bet as me betting against the Falcons.
I can hear Akira screaming in the background.
I was gonna say
somewhere
in Atlanta, somewhere in Georgia, you can hear Coops screaming his head off, and he doesn't know why.
Well, no, Coops is currently in the stream on Twitch, so he does know why.
Fair enough. I'm not seeing the Twitch stream,
Which to gauge the frequency of his racism, there is an entire supercut video. Every instance he's done this on a stream.
Yeah,
that's
why I'm saying this is legit. Yeah, that's why we're saying this is legit racism. This is, sometimes people make an off-color joke on stream, and it's a little risque, a little dicey. They apologize, move on, don't bring it up again, no problem. All right, people make mistakes. No, this has crossed the pattern line.
Yes.
No. So, but Uki Violetta became was protected though by his fans and Niji.
Speaking of
because
patterns,
of fucking course he was.
Speaking of patterns, because you could debate about Vox Akima's things, but Uki, you can't defend that. And now he's not the only problem child amongst those two generations.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Time to address the big one. Hello, Luca Kanashiro.
An indie VTuber named Raziel, who changed her name to Mizuchi at one point because her friend became Luca Kanashiro. And she wanted to separate their previous association as their independent versions of each other. Released a very long, very detailed document regarding all the times that she had interactions with Luca that were, they started out as small negative things, small white lies or promises he didn't, live up to, but they're small things, until they became much, much bigger. To the point where he wasn't invoicing her for work that she was making for him, just calling it commissions or birthday gifts or whatnot when he paid her. All in order to avoid one of the clauses in the Niji Sanji contract. But there are plenty of other things he did with her, talking about, things they've done in real life on Discord with her, or showing pictures of other talents' real faces to her. There are plenty of things detailed in this document that Legal Mindset did a 3.5 hour stream delving into this and talking about how many breaches of contract there were and how Luca Kaneshiro should have been fired 20 plus times over. But when I read the document myself, I got two very large impressions from it. The first impression is that this kid who became Luca, because he was like 18 when he auditioned and was accepted. So he really was just a kid, someone who just became an adult. Was not ready for the type of pressure that this sort of showbiz and the fame that comes with it will bring. And it showed in a lot of his erratic behavior and how his sleep schedule went haywire. And there were a bunch of things that she felt really sorry for. And Raziel has asked everybody who's read the documents, and so I'm going to ask every one of you in our audience, although I don't think any of you would, do not dogpile Luca Kaneshiro. First of all, that does no one any good. Second of all, this kid is torn between two places from what I read. He's
rock in a hard place, yeah.
He's got all this pressure on him. He has no way of properly dealing with it. Management isn't helping. There are times where he's excluded from activities that should have included the entire generation. Specifically, there was an AR Live that Vox and Ike and Mista were invited to, but Shu and Luca were not. And on top of all this, there other things happened. Like he wanted his persona as Luca to be very, very pure, very say-so. He didn't want to lean into the boyfriend experience with it. And then as the pressure to perform, yes, and then the pressure to perform got to him. And in order to make the numbers, he started leaning into it quite a lot. And I get the impression that this is due to the fact that the only real role models he had around him for people who had already dealt with fame was someone like Vox Akuma.
God.
But as we know, as John and I have discussed regarding Vox Akuma's past life, and fuck you, Vox, your past life is Callisto, eat shit. There were a lot of things said about his past life, like the fact that he's a prima donna, a catty-ass bitch that's hard to work with, that thinks that he deserves the fame, among other less savory things that are unsubstantiated, and thus I will not repeat because we don't have any evidence for them. If anybody does have any evidence, you might want to put forth one of those documents on Vox Akuma next.
There's a small part of me that has a feeling that he's gonna have like a 40-page document about him in the next few months.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time for him. His history is already notorious. It would not surprise me if something's come up.
Yeah, but
he's already on thin ice after what we said about him thoroughly reviewing a document that he wasn't supposed to have.
Yep. But the big thing with Luca is it felt like he tried to fit into a niche that he wasn't healthy for him. It caused him to adopt some very unhealthy coping habits and also turned him into somewhat of a bully. I see Luca as more of a victim than as a perpetrator, though obviously that doesn't excuse his actions. It does explain them.
Yes.
And if I were someone who was going to advise Luca Kaneshiro on what he should do next, take a break, go get your mental health up, find healthier ways to deal with that pressure. Because if you just let it build up or deal with it in unhealthy ways, it doesn't benefit anyone, least of all you. Of course, with the way Niji is going, you might have to do that under another different name, but maybe you will have a better time going back to independency. But the Luca Kaneshiro stuff basically shows something very insidious as well. We already mentioned that Luca has multiple contract breaches, and we also mentioned that, Vox had a contract breach, just saying that he was reading a legal document he shouldn't have had any access to. there are plenty of things here showing that somewhere in any color there is one of two things happening. Either they are so incompetent they're unable to catch breaches of contracts as fast as they happen, or they're showing favoritism to specific talents. And in evidence of that second one, as part of the document that was released on Luca Kaneshiro, he talked to Raziel about a time that he got taken to either it was a ryokan or an izakaya.
Oh, this story.
Yeah, it was either a ryokan or an izakaya, which are high-class traditional Japanese restaurants. One's more of a bar, the other's more of a restaurant. Thinking about it, it's more likely to be a ryokan because he's probably not old enough to drink under Japanese law.
Yeah.
Well, what's
but
the age in Japan? 20, 21 like it is in the States, or
I think it's 20, just like for cigarettes and everything else.
Hold on, let me check.
Okay.
This is why we have our living Wikipedia.
Yep.
one of these days we're probably going to end up bullying
20.
him to
Yeah, then you're
cosplay.
right. 20.
Yep, their age of majority for basically everything is 20. Voting, age of adulthood is 20, all of it. But that's neither here nor there.
Also, repeat that, Monk? I didn't catch that.
One of these days we're probably going to end up bullying you to cosplay as Philip.
I don't give a fuck. I'd openly do that on my own regardless.
No takebacks.
I know.
But
Anyway,
Luca was taken to a private room, led there by people in very fancy kimonos, he said. Him and the rest of Luxium were, all 5 of them. And they sat down Seiza style, which is, for those of you who don't know, sit on your knees with your feet under your ass.
It's like crisscross, but like inverted.
If you've seen enough anime, you've seen people sitting Seiza style.
Yep.
Yep.
If you've seen anything samurai-based, you've seen Seiza style for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But they had to sit Seiza, and there were a bunch of suits there, like upper management. They were in business suits talking about important stuff. And then Riku Tazumi, CEO of Anycolor, walks up in a fucking hoodie.
Could you stick out any more like a sore fucking thumb?
Well, this just reminds me of the Steve Buscemi, "How do you do, fellow kids?"
I
line.
mean,
It's clear he was trying to be less formal so as to be a little more approachable by the talents. I mean, Riku Tazumi is a very young person. Let's admit that. He's what, in his 30s?
hold on, let me check that myself.
Okay. But the big thing is that
He's 28.
okay, so he's not even 30 yet. Got it.
Oh Jesus.
Which might be why he's also mismanaging Anycolor. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the big thing is that it's clear that almost seems like a put-on act, because the whole conversation, according to Luca, was, "You guys are great. We support you all the way. We'll do whatever we need to lift you up." Is essentially what was said at that dinner, according to what Luca told Raziel.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a huge amount of favoritism, especially if it's coming from the CEO directly.
Exactly.
Because I doubt, I'm pretty sure we would have heard at least something from any of the other talents, any of the girls especially, if they had gotten through a similar experience. Like,
Yeah,
I'm pretty.
I think
if
one of the
someone
lines
like-
that was mentioned was, "You're like the future of Niji Ien" or something.
Yeah. And if people like the former Pomu Rainpuff or Selentaski, who were just as high up on that totem pole, who were doing just as good, if they didn't get that kind of treatment, but these guys did, that's a sign.
Oh, yeah.
I
It's
am.
a crimson flag.
I almost, if I had to make a guess, and this is just a guess based on what I know about Japanese society in general, so please take it with an enormous sledge full of a giant boulder of Himalayan rock salt.
That's being carried out by a donkey out of the salt mines.
Exactly. Well, a team of donkeys.
Mm-hmm.
I would guess that Riku Tazumi, I don't think he knows how to approach his upper managers. I would guess his upper managers are older men. Because most upper management in Japan is older men and older women.
Yeah.
Again, we talked about that seniority thing earlier. Riku Tazumi might be the CEO, but there's still a very deeply ingrained social element to talking to people who are older than you by a certain amount. He may be the CEO, he may be their boss, but they are still older than him age-wise. And so there's a certain amount of respect he must show them. If I had to make a guess, I feel like maybe his older management doesn't really know how to handle the talent well. I mean, if I want to get into some really old Japanese attitudes, if some of these men are old enough, they still think of women as second citizens, which might be why some of the women on the any color side don't get the type of support they should. But that's, again, giant Himalayan rock salt boulder of speculation. Remember that. But because of his youth, they may just tell him, hey, don't worry, we've got it. And he'd be like, okay. Because, adults all your life tells you, hey, we can get these things. Don't worry about it. You'll eventually have to learn to do some stuff and be an adult yourself. But, we've got your back for other stuff. And and it wouldn't surprise me if, because of that deeply ingrained social aspect to how the young and the old interact, he isn't able to properly reprimand his upper management either. Because it would be seen as, well, what do you know? You're just some young upstart. I've been managing things this way for 25 years amongst all the businesses I've been a part of, and it's never been bad. It's like, yeah, all of the businesses you've been a part of have been black companies. Of course, it's never been bad for you.
Exactly.
But
it's going to take something so damaging that it can't be ignored anymore, which technically it should already be at that point, but for Japan, it hasn't reached that point.
Oh, on the vibe that I've been getting is that, especially since they're still doing well on the Japanese end of things, that they're going to be the company equivalent of a hermit crab, which is honestly a very poor decision to make when all of their competitors are doing international outreach.
Yeah, the real issue here, and I do see that Dragon did bring up another point. A lot of older generational Japanese people are pretty xenophobic too.
Sadly, yes.
They do not like people outside of Japan. The homogeneity of Japanese society is a well-documented thing. And so if the older management is old enough as well, they could just not like the entire EN branch. But they like the guys a little better than the girls. Again, one more time. Giant, boulder-sized, Himalayan rock salt of speculation.
And here's the part where I'd like to bring a parallel in a different field. There was a bit of a controversy not too long ago in regards to Formula One, because at the 11th hour, the Andretti family was disqualified from setting up a Formula One team, and that caused a lot of controversy. And one thing that was remarked by several people is an elitism problem within Formula One. I forget who said it, but he had tweeted out saying, the FIA, who's the governing body for Formula One and a bunch of other motorsports, wants American dollars but not American drivers. And this was right around the time that the prices for the F1 in Las Vegas were, as far as tickets, had come out, and it was absolutely ridiculous. We're talking hundreds of dollars just to get in the nosebleeds.
Yeah, but I'm seeing at least two people say that Frederic Vasseur and Zach Brown.
Hmm. And the thing that I find funny is throughout the whole thing was, aside from, was that they were treating the Andretti family like they're a bunch of upstart scrubs.
Which they are most certainly not.
I mean, I'm not a big racing fan, but even I know the name Andretti.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, Mario is believed to be cursed, but it's not like he wasn't winning stuff elsewhere. It's just a lot of people believe he's cursed to never win the big one at Indy. Oh,
That's like calling that's like if I may make an anecdotal monk, that's like calling a member of the Inoki family a young boy.
well, you got to start as one.
True, still.
Yeah, but the point is that what is with a lot of, and this is the reason why I wanted to do this particular episode of Monastic Therapy. And hi, Riona, how you doing? Is I am seeing a bit of a, there's a couple patterns was seeing that I was seeing emerge as I started to look more into these agencies, especially the ones that either are belly up or are in problematic situations.
Huh.
One of them is the fact that I think a lot of people looked at VTubing as an easy way to get money, and realized the hard way that there's actually a lot more to the success of Cover and other in as well, and plenty of indies when it comes to VTubing, than what they first thought. And and as far as how I know this, like I said earlier, the pattern was there because I saw a similar thing with the .com bubble of the early 2000s.
Ah.
You had a lot of people coming in when there were some early successes. You had a lot of people coming in thinking that they knew how to replicate that success. Then they learned the hard way that it's not that easy.
Yep.
If I have to use a video game example, look at how many Halo killers there were in the 2000s and how many WoW killers there were in the mid 2000s. And all of them ended up being dead. The only thing that killed WoW was WoW. Although one could argue FF14 could lay the closest claim to that, especially after the Shadowlands incident, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, Yoshi
Yep.
P wouldn't even claim that. He'd be like, "I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to make good game."
Which is the smart attitude to have. I really hope one of these days I'd be able to sit down with Yoshi P, even if it's just for like 5 minutes.
Oh, that'd be great.
But the but I'd say in some regards you had a lot of people who may have had success in other businesses, but tried to step into a business that they were less familiar with.
Uh-huh.
You may recall
Yeah.
last year when I did my postmortem on the OGL fiasco, I had likened that to step to a similar thing. You had a bunch of people who had a video game background trying to step into the tabletop realm, thinking that they knew how it worked, and they got the rudest of awakenings. That what they could get away with in terms of video games, you can't get away with. If I have to use an even bigger example, and I brought this up last year as well, the first incarnation of the XFL.
Oh yeah.
Not the not the second one, which did everything right, just had horrible timing because of the coof, or the third one that Dwayne set up, which was all right but kind of sloppy, and now is part of the UFL. But that first one where it was very clear that Vince McMahon had no comprehension of football or football culture. Go back and watch that interview he did with Bob Costas, and you will see that.
Oh yeah.
The big thing is that looking at it from the outside looking in, a particular company or field can look like an easy thing, but actually maintaining that and maintaining the logistics of it is anything but that. You know, the whole children study tactics, men study logistics.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that the somewhat hands-off nature that a lot of the more successful companies had with VTubing created the wrong impression for a lot of people. A lot of people who were looking at it in a outside looking in. And keep in mind, grain of salt. Obviously, I'm not a C-suite executive, but I am somebody who's very good at recognizing patterns. Because this is the exact pattern I saw before, and I don't see a reason to give some special exception to VTubing in this regard. The other, and I say this is a much bigger pattern that I saw emerge, is a culture clash. A lot of companies trying to apply the kind of cultures that you would see in corporations in East Asia, and trying to apply that with the West, especially in regards to utilizing Western talent, and it's not not realizing that you're dealing with a different can of worms in that regard. There's a reason why the phrase "when in Rome, do as the Romans do" is so prevalent.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm off base on recognizing either of those patterns, especially given recent news that we talked about before we went live, and a case of us kind of calling things. Since when we did this last time, we had talked about how somebody was going to step into the vacuum that Niji Sanji had left. And then earlier this week, we find out that Andrew Esquire of Legal Mindset is working with Idle Core.
Huh.
Yeah, now to be clear, what we mean is that he's not actually like their official lawyer. But what he has been hired to do is to work with their legal team and work with their company to revamp the talent contracts for Idol to make it more in favor of the talents, to give them a better contract, something that's not going to hurt the company, but is going to give a good deal for the talents to make sure that they get a good pay, good benefits, everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And if this goes well, this could set a new standard for VTuber contracts going forward. More than even VShojo's been able to try to do.
Yeah. I hate to say this, but VShojo's kind of become the total nonstop action VTubing.
Yeah. That's an apt comparison.
They have a favorable contract, but it's mainly where all the old VTubers go once they want to go off and just do their own thing and have fun and not worry about the big payday.
Well, I mean, let's be honest here though. They do have a big payday just because VShojo's been getting remarkably popular.
That's true. It's more the case if it's where the old talent goes when they don't want to deal with the old bullshit anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Huh?
Rio said Legends of VTubing. We haven't gotten that far yet, and
no.
I'm assuming,
and I hope we never do.
I'm assuming that she's referring to the infamous Legends of Cosplay show.
Oh,
which that was a shit. That was a shit show in itself. And hey there, Locust.
Locust brings a good point. They've from the beginning they established themselves based on the popularity of the VTubers they already had. Like when they started, they had Project Melody, they had Iron Mouse, they had Silverveil, they were getting Bebe, they got Bebe eventually, Zentreya. Like they already started out with a strong base of popular independent VTubers who now form their own agency. Mm-hmm. And since then, while they've added a few lesser known names like Fruit and Giga and things like that, they slowly started to build up on bigger names, whether it be Henya the Genius, aka the former Amano Pikami, Keisan, Nazuna, which that's a whole other can of worms we do not need to go into right now.
I have I have no plans on getting into that, and the reason, for those who aren't wrestling fans, the reason why I called it total nonstop action VTubing. TNA wrestling is a interesting beast over the years. There's plenty of documentaries going over the ups and downs because that company is a fucking cockroach, I swear.
Right?
I know a lot of people were saying because of the whole Scott D'Amore thing that Flutter,
mute.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're echoing.
hold on.
That they'd be dead soon. We've seen that at least 5 different times over the last decade. I will believe it when I see it, because every time I think they're dead, they end up finding a way to not be.
Yeah, I've given up expecting them to die. I was like, if they die, they die. If they live, they live. It ain't worth trying to just speculate anymore.
If he dies, he dies. But it had to do with the fact that they became a bit infamous for bringing in WWE talent, especially after they'd either run themselves out or had expired on their contract, and then immediately pushing them to the top of the card. And it happened so many times that it became kind of a running joke.
You look at Kurt Angle, Christian Cage, the Hardy Boys, Team 3D / the Dudley Boys, Rhino, just so many big names. And then when you then throw the Hogan era into the mix, and good God. Oh, good fucking God.
People actually took proper advantage of that. I'd say
Anyway.
big examples would be I'd say one of the biggest examples
that's
would
what
be
we're
Matt Hardy.
comparing the shoujo to when it comes to TNA, is that they brought in all these big names and pushed them. The only difference is that the shoujo, that was their entire setup. It wasn't just they started off with small guys and built up big names and then brought in the big names. No, they started out with big names and just kept adding to it.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even call it nepotism there, Locus.
Yeah. Although there is, I do remember. I do remember talk about there being a bit cliquey, which is something that's going to inevitably happen when you've got people who know each other and work with each other that much. The issue that ends up that kind of thing is going to happen no matter what. It only really becomes an issue when it becomes an insulated bubble. And that is a bit of a concern, but it's one of those things where I'm taking a passive observation, because Lord knows I'm not going to be working with them anytime soon. I'm way too much of a loose cannon. I don't know. Maybe I could cosplay as Brian Pillman one day.
Yeah, like even in Hololive, there's cliques. Most generations in Hololive have their own little cliques. The only difference is that they're not exclusive to their cliques. They work outside of their cliques and will form other cliques. You know, Holotory, for example.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the bird VTubers started to form a clique, but they still work with all the other girls. They and even with the guys, they don't stay exclusive to the clique. And in the shoujo, it's not that strong of a thing. It's there, but it's not like all encompassing.
Mm-hmm. But when it comes to when it comes to the way I see things going, because of course I have to make my predictions, even even if I end up being a prophet, sometimes it's just something that's inevitable. The way I
Really is a burden, us being right all the time.
yeah, the way I see it, I think the feeding frenzy of trying to set up companies is going to pass. The way I see things going the next few years is there's still going to be corps of all tiers. But I do think you're going to be seeing a lot more people choosing to go indie because we are in throughout entertainment. We're in a stage where there has been a growing viability and a growing move towards more independent approaches. And some companies that have that leaning towards semi-independent thinking.
Yeah.
And-
This kind of plays off of what I said in our original Geek Watch episode on VTubers, is that we're gonna hit that we're at nearing that plateau where it's not gonna die. VTubing is here to stay. It is not going away.
Mhm.
But
It's
it's reaching a
stabilizing.
point. It's stabilizing where it's no longer the big trend that everyone's jumping on anymore, and the companies aren't going to be scrambling to get their hands into the cookie jar, but it will always be there. There will always be new companies who have come up with new ideas. There will always be independent VTubers who suddenly rise through the ranks, but it's not going to be the big explosion we saw back in 2020 and 2021.
Mm-hmm. And I should note, given what I have planned, that you all are going to see something special from me this August as a capstone to doing 10 years of this shit. But I'm not doing it as a means of jumping on a trend. It is more that it is a natural fit for how I do things. This was just a logical next step, and it was something I've had in the works for years. It's just that, and in fact, I'd say one little comment from that Geek Watch episode 3 years ago put the idea in my head of actually going through with it. I just needed to find the right person to help me out. And I honestly, if I recall correctly, it was you, John, who first put the idea in my head of pursuing it, because you'd said the whole monk in the temple thing would be a natural fit.
I mean, was I wrong? Am I wrong?
No?
Like, the whole point is to have a character, have a personality, have a gimmick to you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it just waves hands over you. I mean,
Even especially since I did a hell of a lot of digging, and when it comes to the world of tabletop, the people who cover it is still within VTubing is still very, very small. And I know some folks will say that this or that person has covered it. In a lot of cases, covering like one session of D&D and then going back to video games. I don't think that's enough.
yeah, we're talking dedicated tabletop content in a VTuber form.
Yeah. And a lot of the projects that I've covered on this channel in the last 5 years through the interviews, I'm one of the few people who have covered it, and even the bigger projects, I'm one of the few who's covered it in a more objective style. A recent example would be Daggerheart. I've seen a lot of people hyper focus on the Mercer aspect of it, even though if anybody, Travis is the one who's been pushing that project.
Yeah.
More than Mercer, and remember one of my policies is games, not names.
That's a policy I've even had to remind him of when he starts getting in his shit.
Yeah, but it's one that I stick to, and and a recent example of when I had to get pulled back on it was when I found out that Zweihander is coming back with a new edition, and knowing what I know about the guy who runs that thing, I I had some takes. I'll put it that way. But the thing is that and there might be a few who talk about it, Theodore, but I've been covering this kind of thing for years, and if and when I make that jump, that isn't going to change. If anything, it's just going to be a new coat of paint on what I've been doing for so long.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that but as I said, there's the barrier to entry is still going to be significant when it comes to VTubing, but it is a case where the barrier to entry for just creating stuff independently has never been lower than it is right now. And it's not just me that's talked about this. If there's anybody else who's been a major stalwart in the make stuff, it's been Thor, who I have to remind, centaurs have 2 rib cages. And Theodore, as far as focusing on Pathfinder 2e, I need to clarify. My focus is on the totality of tabletop gaming. That includes some of the bigger names when I in the rare time when I feel like it. A lot of the indies and even fan games. Not saying that because one of my current projects leans into the fan game territory, but I broke out of my shell thanks to places like TG, Giant in the Playground, and the like. And I want to try and give back to that particular end of things. Also, Brian saying, I do have to say my wallet does hate Monk with the loathing of a young master. To that I say, get to the back of the line. And truth be told, if more people were doing the totality like I do, I probably wouldn't have needed to be a content creator. The only reason I started was because I was seeing so many games that people weren't talking about that were really fucking good. So it's like, if you motherfuckers won't talk about it, I will.
Yep.
And the rest is history. But Zand, what didn't Thor have a lengthy short not too long ago where he talked about that people should go out and start making games?
Who? I didn't hear that cut out.
Or Pirate Software.
Oh yeah, no shit. There's a short that it's a short that I share every so often. It's a short that he had probably over a year ago, where he's like, just go out and make games. Just go out and make games. You want more games? Go out and make games.
I know some will say that he's in a more privileged position given his background, but I've had so many stories relayed to me over the last 5 years of people who did not have have any of those advantages and still found a way. A lot of people who I've talked to, the project that we're talking about with them, that's their first foray. There is a YouTuber that I follow who self-taught himself Unity. Now he's moving over to Godot, and to make a character action game based on Mega Man Zero.
Ah,
that's gonna be awesome.
And I know that there was one other project that was made in Godot simply as a way to teach himself how to program in Godot.
Not surprising.
The point is that there's me those who have the drive to actually make something will find a way.
Mhm.
And I've stated before, when it comes to trying to get into tabletop, there's no excuses. It's in a similar pattern. I do not believe there's any excuse these days. But do I foresee anybody setting up new companies anytime soon? No. And I'm getting an echo from somebody. I think it's you, Flutter. I think you should move
Yeah.
over to push to talk.
Hold on.
But this, I could see it happening down the road. But one thing that I could see happening in the future, and this is admittedly a bit of a crackpot prediction, a bit more than usual. I wouldn't be surprised if a few companies decide to do full-on joint projects. Something in the John, do you remember when there was discussion of the All Together Now show over in Japan between the three big promotions in Puroresu?
Yeah.
Or the collabs that several pro wrestling promotions have done with each other over the last few years.
Yeah, I see what you're getting at. And we've already seen hints of that in Japan as well, where VTuber agencies will have those kind of big get-together projects. So, yeah, it's not too far-fetched to say we'll be seeing that. I mean, we already see certain smaller agencies collab with each other.
Mm-hmm.
We would see Face Connect and Idol and Prism Projects and VOMs and other companies start working together and, collabing with each other. It's only a matter of time before a big moment like that happens where even HoloLive gets in on the mix.
And
hell, even Niji Sanji might have to get in just for the fuck of it.
I want to make it clear. I'm not talking about like a couple talents collabing with each other. I'm talking whole gens or whole organizations doing some sort of super show. Let's not forget, the whole reason the Super Bowl was a thing was to do one big show between the AFL and NFL.
I could see that inspiring a super show for VTubers.
Mm-hmm. Am I saying that a bunch of them are going to get together all at once? No, it's probably I could see in the next few years two organizations deciding to hold a joint show with a full gen's worth each. And as far I see Riona saying that some companies could try and consolidate and snap up indies. The indies is always going to be looked at as a kind of feeder system, a kind of developmental system. Much like the minor leagues in baseball or the G League in the NBA. Or New Japan's Young Lion program, or just any dojo system that any Puroresu promotion has. But I get the feeling that a lot of indies are going to be a little bit more cautious about jumping on because of the after effect. That's not to say that I'm not trying to say that every corp is going to be like Niji, but it's a case of the poison pill effect. I saw this kind of thing in the aftermath of the OGL fiasco, where a lot of people suspected that the Orc license was going to end up having the same problems. Even though...
And then we read it, and it wasn't.
Yeah. Even though Zan and I went balls deep into the text of the Orc license, and while there's a fair bit of legalese, they explained why they had to go that far. And because of that, that's why I'm going to be keeping a close eye on how this collaboration with Andrew Esquire and Idol Project goes, because that particular project is going to, whether it succeeds or fails, is going to have a ripple effect. And if it ends up setting a new standard, that might make it a little bit easier to actually have a proper pipeline. And I also think that as that the churn kind of thing that we've seen, that's more of a byproduct of the of idol culture. If a lot of companies are going to be expanding into the West, that's something that's going to have to go by the wayside. You can't do that.
It made sense for Hololive because of what they were trying to create, but that cannot be the standard. And even Hololive has had to lax that idea a little bit.
Mm-hmm. The shotgun approach, as it's been known, of just having a bunch of people and then throwing them into the pool and saying sink or swim.
That's proven not to work.
Yeah, and the reason why I say that has to go is because first off, there's the culture thing, but also the more that you do that, the harder it is to actually get new blood in, because they're wondering because for a lot of people, doing this kind of thing is going to be one heck of an investment, and even they would want a return on that and have it be something that they can do long term. And if it's a case where it's sink or swim for about a year, you can't build that level of reliable audience in that kind of time when you've got so many other competitors in your own company. Which I'd say that shotgun approach might be indirectly causing some of the toxicity we see in some organizations.
I wouldn't doubt that.
And the reason, once again to draw parallels, consider the luchadoras locker rooms in some of those promotions in Mexico. We want to talk about cabs. There's some queen cab shit going down there.
Yep.
I think somebody said if you get 10 wrestlers from a promotion in Mexico, and one of them is a luchadora, 90% of all the cattiness is going to come from that one.
Which means if the locker room is nothing but luchadoras, well, you've got a catty bitch problem overload.
Case in point, Sexy Star.
Oh, let's not get into that.
Oh,
Anyway, guys,
her.
I gotta head out because I gotta get some stuff from the store before a certain thing starts.
Yeah, I'll probably be Riona, cab does not mean sweaty bara yoi. No, it means catty ass bitches.
Anyway, later, guys.
Stay frosty, man. But
Sweaty Bara Yaoi, she has her taste so open.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna kink shame yet.
I kink shame whatever the fuck I please.
Like I said, yet. I will derail that train if I have to.
Oh, I know.
Or just have the train go way too fast. You know,
too fast.
You know, have a train version of Speed, which that would actually not be a bad idea for an outgunned one shot. I'll shelve that for later. But I'd say that's as strong of a coda as I'm going to have when it comes to this. Zan and I will be back in the temple tomorrow with a emergency Valley of the Judge covering the Veil of the Void Prophecy expansion for, well, Veil of the Void. Because Trevor dropped it on me a few days before it launched, and then dropped an updated version when I told him that there's no bookmarks. and that some of the hyperlinkings weren't working. And if anyone's asking, you would bully a game dev into putting bookmarks in their PDF? Yes, every time.
Index your shit.
Not just indexing. We want the PDFs to have fucking bookmarks.
Mm-hmm. If you're doing
Mm-hmm.
like a zine that's only like 20 pages, I'm willing to cut a little bit of slack. Especially depending on the zines, which zines aren't meant to be big because they're magazine sized. But
Yeah.
if you've
That's
got
the
like a
shorthand.
200 or 300 page core book and you don't have bookmarks, and it isn't an older book that's been OCR'd, then we have problems. Or you could do what Palladium does and have the table of contents be a fucking lie. Then we've really got problems. There's a reason why Palladium's been my whipping boy for 20 years.
Getting some echo again.
Mm-mm. But of course, next week I will be a very busy monk, including the fact that now that this has actually been confirmed, I can state this. This Wednesday, I will be interviewing Bradley Hailstrom to talk about the Shin Megami Tensei RPG.
Ooh.
I'm already going to be talking with him later this month about Steam Build Writers, but we had to go through a few hoops in order to do that. And I know some people are jumping on that, but I would remind folks that there is one game that's already out there that can handle both Shin Megami Tensei and Persona to an extent, called Grimoire of Heart. It technically uses fudge dice, but I don't consider it a fudge RPG or a Fate one. It's in that same vein as Covert Ops, where it's using the dice, but that's the only thing that it's using. And Fudge has very, very specific mechanics.
Yep.
And this one isn't doing any of that. But and for those of you who are in my Discord, I will put up the link to Grimoire of Heart. If you're not in the Discord, you should join the Discord. I'm the most active there than I am anywhere else. I'll occasionally tweet and shitpost, but if you want to see what I'm up to, that's the best place to do it. And of course, so with that said, a sincere thanks to everyone who took the time out of their schedule to come all the way to my temple and enjoy the madness that happens around here. And there will be plenty more, as there always is here, on the open bar of the internet. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra, I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody!